Hello there, this is the 6th edition on News Central TV, broadcasting live from our studio in Abuja. Welcome, I'm Neota Igbe, and our top stories at this hour. Supreme Court affirms death sentence for Miriam Sanda. Court remands former Labour Minister Chris Ngige in Kuje Prison over alleged 2.2 billion naira fraud. Benin Republic's former defense minister and leading opposition figure Candide Azannai has been arrested in Cotonou. We'll bring you details in a moment. Well, it appears the Supreme Court has overturned the presidential pardon earlier granted to Miriam Sanda, who was sentenced to death in 2020 for killing her husband, Biliaminu Bello, during a domestic dispute. President Bola Tinubu had reduced her sentence to 12 years imprisonment on compassionate ground. In a split 4-1 decision, the Apex Court affirmed the original death sentence issued by the FCT High Court and upheld the Court of Appeals decision. Delivering the lead judgment, Justice Moore Adjumain ruled that the prosecution had proved its case beyond reasonable doubt. He further held that the executive acted improperly by attempting to grant a pardon in a culpable homicide case that was still under appeal. Staying in the courts, the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has ordered the remand of the former Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, at the Kuje custodial facility. Dr. Ngige was taken into custody following his arraignment before Justice Miriam Hassan, where he pleaded not guilty to an 8-count charge bordering on alleged contract fraud. Our correspondent Joshua Imari reports on the court.
Minister of Labour and Employment under the administration of the late President Muhammad Buhari, Chris Ngige, appeared in court after spending nearly 3 days in the custody of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. When proceedings commenced, Ngige was arraigned and he pleaded not guilty to all 8 counts filed against him by Nigeria's anti-graft agency, the EFCC. In an oral bail application, counsel to Ngige and Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Patrick Ukweto, urged the court to grant the former minister bail to enable him attend to his health challenges.
What we asked the court wasn't for him to go home. We wanted to ask the court, and we asked the court that because of his health condition, indeed even the EFCC agreed that he's not well, and because of his health condition, that he needs to have access to medical attention. Now, unfortunately, they don't have that at the EFCC. And what I asked the court was to allow that whilst he's anywhere, whether it's Kuje Correctional Center or wherever he is, that he may have access to medical attention. That's what I asked the court for.
The request was opposed by EFCC's prosecuting counsel and Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Silvanus Tahir. Tahir informed the court that the defendant had already filed a bail application and argued that Ngige posed a flight risk. He explained that the defendant was previously released with his passport, which was in EFCC's custody, to enable him travel for medical treatment abroad on the condition that he would return the document afterwards. But the prosecution says Ngige did not return his passport before his recent arrest. Tahir therefore urged the court to remand him at the Kuje custodial facility.
Naturally, before commencement of trial, the place of abode for him shall be nowhere other than the correctional center. And that's the application we made to the Honorable Court. But they desired that the man should just walk home from here, while there is a pending formal bail application that has been filed before the Honorable Court, which we, the prosecution, need to react to.
Responding, counsel to the defendant told the court that Ngige was unable to return the passport because his travel bag containing the document was lost and that a report had been filed at the Nigerian High Commission in London. Justice Miriam Hassan subsequently ordered that the former Labour Minister be remanded at the Kuje custodial facility until Monday, 15 December 2025, when his formal bail application will be heard. In Abuja, from the Central, I am Joshua Marai.
And now I'm being joined by a legal practitioner, Mr. Vincent Otaopupu, to discuss this matter of the former Minister of Labour and Employment. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Otaopupu, I mean, this is not the first time a former minister, a former governor has been taken to court by the EFCC for contract fraud. But what's the difference with this one?
The difference is probably he was arrested 2 days ago on the 10th, and today he's charged to court. That means there's every presumption or presupposition that they may have concluded the investigation. The reason why they have taken him to court, because once arraignment is done, the formal charge has been filed, which activates the arraignment of a defendant or suspect before the court. And once that charge is read, the plea of guilty or not guilty is taken. And once that is taken, that activates the jurisdiction of the court to go into the full trial. So to this arraignment today, the arrest was done a few days ago, and today they are already in court. The EFCC has power to prosecute, to arrest, to prosecute, and to investigate crime, financial crime, under Section 6B, Section 7, 2A, and F of the EFCC Act. They have the general power to investigate, to even prevent financial crime, investigate financial crime, even to prosecute. They have prosecutorial power under Section 13, Sub 2, even the establishment of legal department and prosecution unit in their department, as the case may be. So the power to, when persons are suspected to have committed a financial crime, they're just an accused person. Every other person can be accused for committing an offense. And the power to charge reside in EFCC. Power to prosecute reside in EFCC. Very many sections of the EFCC Act have cited. But you must remember that Section 636 of the Constitution guarantees every person charged with a criminal offense the presumption of innocence.
Yes.
That the person who is charged with offense is presumed to be innocent until contrary is proved. So as it were, he's still presumed to be innocent.
And we do know that he pleaded not guilty to this crime, but yet the court is, the prosecution is afraid that he's a flight risk.
Yes. Now, once a plea has been taken, guilty or not guilty, once not guilty is pleaded, then if the offense is a bailable offense, the court will consider the issue of bail. And what I learned today is that there's an application for bail pending or something, and the prosecution needed to respond to it. It's a court of record. The court cannot take oral application to grant bail or release on bail just like that. It must come by a formal application before the court, serve on the other side, and which they must have responded. Let's
look at this matter of flight risk. The last time we understand that his passport was released to him so that he could travel abroad for medical attention. Okay. Now, we know that there is the immigration. He cannot go out of the country without the immigration stamping his passport unless he is smuggled out.
Yes.
Now, he is also in the court. The report has it that he had explained to the court that his passport is not with him, but with one of the embassies where he's seeking a visa to travel. In that kind of situation, couldn't the court have said, okay, you can go, knowing that the immigration service is on ground to ensure he does not leave this country? Does that not point to the fact that there might be a bit of conspiracy in the other agencies that are supposed to be working the AFCC to fight corruption?
Yes, by the provision of Section 158 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, because arraignment and criminal prosecution by EFCC and the police or Attorney General Office is regulated by the Constitution and the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, which is a procedural law that applies to proceedings in criminal matters. Now, the court has powers, ample powers and opportunity under Section 158 to grant bail. Part of what the court considered in granting bail are one of the reasons of what you have mentioned now, the opportunity of the persons not to tamper with investigation or even investigation or tamper with prosecution witnesses or destroy evidence that will be used against him, or even abscond. That is the possibility of the persons to be able to stand trial, to take his trial, as the case may be. Now, the passport issued by Nigerian immigration to a private citizen of Nigeria. You remember the case of Olusegun Abakoba versus DSS, which the Supreme Court have emphasized. He was arrested traveling to attend under the military regime, attend the conference at The Hague. He was arrested at Montreal Mohammed Airport and his passport was taken. Supreme Court held despite the inscription at the back of the passport that it belongs to the federal government, it is a citizen's property, even though it belongs to the federal government, but it belongs to a citizen, and which is with right of ingress and egress. So the court consider these are issues the court will take. And there's no need for us to preempt the court at the case may be. But if the passport is with an agency of government, as the case may be, there's a way EFCC will write to the agency to confirm that the passport is with them, number one. Then if that constitutes part of the condition the court will grant, because if the court considers his bail, because under the EFCC Act, all the offenses listed there are available offenses.
I was going to go there. So, but in this case now that the court has decided to remand him, would you say that remand is justifiable?
Yes. After arraignment, the court, once a suspect or defendant has been arraigned before the court, the court takes over after arraignment.
I wanted you to answer the question. Okay, just get to it. Would you say this remand is justifiable? Because I was going somewhere.
The remand is justifiable in law.
All right.
Because the court couldn't have ordered him to be remanded in EFCC custody. Because once he has been arraigned, the court takes over proceedings and the release or detention of the suspect or defendant under trial. It's no more going to be remanded in any other facility or except that of the court. If they want to remand him under their facility, EFCC, they can apply to a magistrate under section 293 of the ACTA, which the magistrate can grant them for detention under 14 days. But that cannot apply again because that is when they are still doing investigation. But having filed a formal charge and arraignment has been taken and plea taken, every business of that proceedings, release and detention must be handled by the court where the accused person is standing trial. Okay,
so this question here, well, let me just link it to something that happened in the National Assembly yesterday where a former public officer, an aide to a former president, was asked to take a bow. And not many questions, in fact, he wasn't asked any question. Mm-hmm. That's not the first time that's happened in the National Assembly. They say, because we recognize him.
Yes.
This man, Dr. Ngige, was a governor, was a minister, was a public figure. One would think that, having been, he would be treated as one that is recognizable and one that can be standing in his own stead as a public figure. Do you think that is also having any effect on the way the court or the prosecution is treating this case?
No, in the final analysis, when the formal application for bail has been argued, is formally argued, and the court takes over to deliver ruling, the prosecutor must have may oppose or may not oppose. In most likely cases, they will oppose. Now, the court will take into consideration from the guest lawyer, for what I learned today, that he was a former governor from 2023 to 2006. He was a former minister from 2015 to 2023. So this court will take into, because the counsel was arguing that he should be granted bail in most lenient term under self-recognition. He must be recognized as a public figure under self-recognition. That is to waive the requirement of getting shorty 16 at the grade 16 grade level of civil servant, permanent secretary. Those requirements that should be waived because of his personality involved as a former governor. He will not be able to run. He will be able to stand trial to take it. So, but in the final analysis, these are the condition and terms of condition, and the court will consider in granting bail. And it won't be good for us to sit down here and preempt the court, what the court will do and what court will not do.
Thank you very much. Vincent Otao-Pupu is a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming in this evening.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a moment, and when we'll come back, we'll be going back to that matter of Miriam Sanda, whose pardon may have been overturned by the Supreme Court. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, we told you earlier that the Supreme Court might have overturned the presidential pardon earlier granted to Miriam Sanda, who was sentenced to death in 2020 for killing her husband, Biliaminu Bello, during a domestic dispute. Remember that President Tinubu had reduced her sentence to 12 years imprisonment on compassionate grounds, but the Apex Court said otherwise. Well, I'm being joined in the studio by Maxwell Okpara, a legal practitioner. Thank you for joining us here.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Mr. Okpara, how far can a president go when granting a legal pardon, when granting a pardon?
You see, I thank God that I've been vindicated, because 2 days after that issue happened, and I was called at Arise, and I told them that, who is advising Mr. President? I know the Attorney General, very polished. I have respect for him. He knows the law. Does it mean that the Attorney General don't know that this matter is still in court? Yeah, so people said, I think one other lawyer came. He said, no, there is a prerogative of the president. It's your prerogative. You exercise it in line with the law. People don't understand what is pardon. Pardon means I have committed this particular issue. I have accepted my conviction. That is one. And the sentence, that is one. And I have shown remorse. Please, pardon me. You must apply. You must fill the form, apply. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. Now, you have accepted. You are at that particular time at the mercy of the president. That's when the president will now come in. Okay. Not when you have been convicted by the trial court. You went on appeal court uphold what the trial court said. You said, no, I'm still innocent. You went to Supreme Court. When the matter is in Supreme Court, you are now applying. You cannot appropriate and reprobate. And this is my position. I said, Supreme Court, they are going to descend on the executive. For this is what we call executive recklessness. You don't abuse such a power. You have the power to appoint a minister, but you cannot go to the street and pick a madman and make him a minister. And when they ask you, there must be qualification.
So when you say this case is still in court, right?
Yes.
Okay, we've established that.
Yes.
But the president's decision was based on compassionate ground,
which is still in court. It's sub judice. You don't talk about the issue that is in court. You should have allowed Sanda to withdraw that appeal, so that judgment will still be subsisting. I have a client, it's a popular matter, Mazen Nandekan. We are working on his appeal. As it stands now, that appeal, that condition and sentence is still binding on him. Immediately we appeal against it, the matter is now before the court. Nobody can do anything. So if Mazen Nandekan wants presidential whatever, that matter must be withdrawn. There are two areas where the executive can come in a matter that is going to court. One, exercising his power under the Constitution, not prosecute to discontinue a matter. Or when the matter has been concluded, the president can now come in and exercise that his power. You see what happened at Akwakoko and the one in Anambra. When Soludo, some you say, please consider them. Soludo said, I cannot do anything now. Let the judiciary finish. I cannot. That is how it's supposed to be done. And I said it. Immediately I got the judgment. I forwarded it to the producer of that decision. He said, yes, you really, I have the clip. I forwarded it. In fact, so, after this, then I also forwarded it to you.
So what does this say then when we begin to think about the prerogative of mercy?
You don't abuse it.
How do you mean abuse it? Is it not up to the president or the governor at any point in time, the executive, to exercise that prerogative? Is that not what the law says?
There is no authority that is absolute.
Even that of the judiciary is not absolute?
It's not absolute.
Okay.
Have you not seen where a judge gave a judgment and the people wrote a petition against him? You gave another. Remember that Section 6 of the Constitution has given you the power as a judge to issue another. But when you abuse it, people will challenge it to the regulatory agency. Those who are regulating you, that's NJC. I don't know whether.
But we do. But if you want to go in that direction, we know that there are a lot of judgments that have come forth, and a lot of petitions, and nothing's been done about them.
It depends on how you channel your petition. It depends on how you. But this particular one, I'm just using the president. The president have a lot of powers under the Constitution, but we have been abusing it. Not on this president too. Since we have that. Can you say 1999? A lot of things has been happening, and when they ask you, ranging from presidential pardon, a declaration of state of emergency, I can go on and on and on and on impeachment. It has been abused. You follow the due process. What are the due process using this particular case in question? One, the person must be convicted and sentenced. The person must apply that he has shown remorse. And the law said the custodian authority, that is the correctional center, must confirm that. That is the committee headed by the Attorney General. The Attorney General will receive that memo from the custodian authority, now correctional center, to say that this person has shown remorse and not abusing. I give you instance. In that Suleja prison you are talking about. Now, Mary Behuge from Enugu State was fighting with one lady and used knife. I heard say in the course of this, he used I think broken bottle and stabbed the lady, and they rushed the lady to the hospital. But the lady died. She was convicted for manslaughter and sentenced for life imprisonment. She has spent 25 years in Kuje Prison. Now, from Enugu, a Christian from Enugu, now Maryam Sanda intentionally used knife, killed the husband, and she was sent to death by hanging. She spent less than 3 years, and nobody granted Mary Ibego a presidential pardon. Yes, her own is life jail, not capital punishment, not hanging by death. 25 years, nobody granted her presidential pardon. But this one, by hanging, less than 3 years, she was granted presidential pardon. Now, if you should ask me, the collected bribe is gratification.
So in this case, because you've talked about the process of the presidential pardon and how it works, application, memos submitted, approvals given, confirmations given, all will pass through the Attorney General of the Federation and onto the office of the President. So in this case, by your submission here, you're implying that it's either the Attorney General's office, mark the word, is compromised, or someone along the way missed it, or the president didn't see it. Which one are you saying?
I blame the attorney. We are having the discussion at the NDA Secretariat before I came. I personally blame the Attorney General. Do you know why? If you watch in that Ministry of Justice, we have a lot, how many SAN there? How many departments? I serve there. DPP is there, Solicitor General, Civil Litigation Department. All these senior lawyers. You did not mandate anyone to follow, help me check this particular memo given to us by the custodian authority to check whether these people meet up, scrutinize them. If we are talking about a very serious issue, something that has to do with the image of the country, then before you now pass it to the president, before the president will now present it to the Council of State, before Council of State now say go ahead. You see the processes. Now, when this thing now happened and there was a backlash, they said that they are still working on the document. And that's why some people said, no, Attorney General, you cannot work on the document because it has been approved.
All right. Thank you so much. Mr. Maxwell Okbar is a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming in this evening.
It's my pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Once again, I want to thank Arise. You people are too much. Yes, it is wonderful.
On our platform, this is New Central.
New Central. Sorry. New Central. You people are too much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. A U.S. congressional team led by Congressman Riley Moore has concluded a fact-finding mission in Nigeria and is preparing a briefing for President Donald Trump on alleged widespread killings. The 5-member delegation visited Benin State, meeting IDPs as internally displaced persons, survivors, community leaders, and religious authorities, and also held discussions in Abuja with the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu and the Attorney General Lateef Fagbemi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Speaking on Fox News, Moore described the visit as the most disturbing experience of his career, recounting harrowing testimonies from victims who lost entire families in violent attacks. He said the pattern of assaults include attacks on churches and IDP camps, strongly suggesting that Christian communities were being targeted. Moore added that the group traveled in armored vehicles due to security risk, stressing that their mission was to gather ground truths for the U.S. government assessment. In the meantime, the Nigerian Army says it is working round the clock to develop a robust response mechanism that will help address the ongoing security threats in Kaduna State. The response mechanism aimed at restoring peace to the state will be developed during a forum on insecurity with attendance from stakeholders comprising the Kaduna State Government, the Nigeria Police Force, and the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. General Officer Commanding 1 Division, Nigerian Army, Major General Abdullahi Wase, made this known at the division's headquarters in Kaduna State during the unveiling of the forum. Our correspondent, Emmanuel Bagudu, reports.
Just when residents thought peace has been given a chance in Kaduna State, suspected bandits who earlier agreed to sheath their swords are back, threatening the peace being experienced in the state.
Ko ajiya sun kashe mutum guda. Ajiya sun kashe mutum guda kuma sun kwashe kudinsa.
At the 1 Division headquarters of the Nigerian Army in Kaduna, the General Officer Commanding, Major General Sadiq Abdullahi Wase, is leading the charge in identifying vulnerable gaps that require urgent attention in the war against terrorism in the state.
The forum will embark on an honest assessment of the current security situation, identify vulnerabilities and gaps that require urgent attention. It will explore the modes of sharing intelligence and best practices, recognizing that timely information and proven strategies are potent tools in preventing threats. The forum will further deliberate on strengthening collaboration and coordination among stakeholders, because security is a shared responsibility that demands synergy between government agencies, traditional rulers, community groups, civil society, and the people.
All government officials, including security agencies, are not resting on their oars in ensuring that this security is provided to all and sundry. And like we have stated, we are on top of the situation at all times, and we are glad that all security heads in Kaduna State are collaborating with the Kaduna State government in ensuring that security is provided.
The state government is assuring that as the festive season approaches, it will do all it can to restore peace back to Kaduna State. In Kaduna for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
We'll take a moment and we'll come back. Nigerian army reacting to rumors that they killed 12 women in Lamo, the local government area. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the 6th edition, and here is a recap of our top stories. The Supreme Court affirms the death sentence for Miriam Sanda despite the presidential pardon. Court remands former Labour Minister Chris Ngige in Kuje Prison over alleged 2.2 billion naira contract fraud. And the Benin Republic's former defense minister and leading opposition figure Candide Azannai arrested in Cotonou. The Nigerian army has rejected claims that its soldiers shot and killed 12 women protesting in Lamur, the local government area of Adamawa State, saying instead that the deaths were caused by armed militia fighters mishandling weapons. The incident happened amid ongoing communal clashes between the Batrama and Chobo communities over land dispute. Some new reports allege that troops escorting the commander of the 23 Brigade fired on protesters, killing several women and injuring others. In a statement by Captain Olusegun Abidoye, acting assistant director of the 23 Brigade, debunked the claim, saying the brigade commander was not at the scene at the time. He explained that the soldiers were deployed to restore calm after violence, but local armed men attacked, forcing the troops to defend themselves. The rights groups and community members are pushing for an independent investigation, with the National Human Rights Commission condemning the killings and calling for justice. Meanwhile, at least 17 people have been reportedly killed by suspected Jukun militia who launched a coordinated attack on returning internally displaced persons in the Se Ajogo village, Wukari local government area of Taraba State. According to Zaga Zola Makama, a counterterrorism publication, 8 others were injured during the attack on Wednesday, December the 10th. The publication said the attackers invaded the village at about 6 a.m., firing sporadically at residents and IDPs, adding that several others remained unaccounted for, while 7 houses were set ablaze during the assault. Makama reported that sources familiar with the incident said the attack is the second on returning IDPs in Sea Jogo within 2 months. The village is located at approximately 4 kilometers from Rafin Kada town and has been described as highly vulnerable to militia invasion. And the Lagos State Police Command says it has uncovered a fake pharmaceutical operation in the Ojo area of the state. A discovery was made on Wednesday during an enforcement operation personally led by the Commissioner of Police, Olorundare Jimoh. During the raid, officers recovered large quantities of counterfeit pharmaceutical products, including fake malaria medications, syringes, and other unregistered medical supplies. News Central's Victor Mbadike reports.
What looked like just another quiet residential street in Ojo turned out to be the cover for a dangerous operation.
So you can see what we discovered here.
Police uncovered a full-scale counterfeit drug factory producing and distributing harmful pharmaceuticals to unsuspecting consumers. From fake malaria medications to contaminated syringes.
See, all these are manufactured in this building. In fact, the last floor of the building is turned to where all these products are being produced illegally, which are, like I said, they are not injurious to the health of all Nigerians that may have the opportunity, disadvantage rather, to have consumed this product. This is done this way and sealed this way. And this machine are used to counterfeit this drug. Equally, this machine are equally used to change the date of expired drugs that are now converted to medicine for people to use. So we want to send a note of warning to all Nigerians to be very careful and wary where they are buying drugs across the country.
The police alleged that a man known only as Ebuka is the mastermind, using the property as a distribution hub.
Because I cannot pack everything I have.
This is quite unfortunate. The Ebuka was said to have big stores on some location in Lagos, which I will not mention for the purpose of exposing that area. We are very sure we are going to pick him up in a little time and ensure that all those who facilitate the commission of the offense and all those who participated in the commission of the offense, and equally those who ensure that this offender continue to perpetrate this act are all apprehended and prosecuted.
Police said the crackdown is part of a wider effort to dismantle counterfeit drug networks across Lagos and safeguard the health of residents. And to reinforce its message, the Lagos State Police staged a show of force across the city.
We are doing this to ensure that Lagos residents and visitors to the city have the confidence to know that everything is peaceful in Lagos and they can go about their lawful businesses and other means of livelihood without fear or apprehension.
For the police, this display demonstrates its determination to not only dismantle crime networks, but also to ensure the safety of residents, particularly during this Yuletide season. In Lagos for News Central, Victor Badike.
Staying with security matters, the Edo State Governor, Senator Monday Okpebholo, has reiterated his administration's commitment to strengthening security across the state. He made the pledge while receiving the new commander of the 4th Brigade Nigerian Army, Brigadier General Ahmed Olatunboju Balogun, at the Government House in Benin City. Governor Monday Okpebholo assured the Nigerian Army of full cooperation in its operations across the state. The governor highlighted ongoing interventions, including upgrades at the Ekewon Barracks, a 36-kilometer Gele Road project, and the procurement of multifunctional surveillance drones as part of efforts to enhance security response capacity. In his response, Brigadier General Ahmed Balogun appreciated the governor's support to the Army and promised to strengthen the existing partnership, while noting that the cooperation received by his predecessor, Brigadier General Balogun, outlined key areas needing urgent attention, including the renovation of the Brigade School, completion of the Ekewon Barracks Road, and the employment of advanced drones for operational efficiency. The meeting was attended by senior government officials, including the Secretary to the State Government and the Chief of Staff.
Security and protection of property of Edo is very important to us. And we are going to work with you wholeheartedly to see that Edo is secured. I also want you to know that whatever is the challenge that you are facing, let us know quickly so that we will know how to arrest it. We talk about school, we talk about hospital, we talk about road. These are things that we are already doing. In the next few days, you will see something happening around your office there.
Before this meeting, I've had cause to interact with His Excellency, and I see the passion and the drive with which he has for security in the state. It is top-notch, and I must sincerely commend you. Thank you so very much, sir. I want to assure you that I will build on the already established cooperation. I intend to take it to the next level, and my commitment, my drive, and my passion, like I told His Excellency when I first met him, is that I will work to make Edo State safer.
Edo State Governor Senator Monday Okpebolo has gone ahead to launch a major grassroots mobilization drive in Edo State, receiving hundreds of new supporters into the All Progressives Congress ahead of the 2027 general elections. The governor declared unwavering support for President Tinubu, insisting that Edo State has already made its position clear. He told party faithful that the administration's performance in security, welfare and infrastructure forms the basis for the growing support witnessed across Edo. News Central's Amenze Bazwai reports that the governor also took a swipe at the opposition, insisting that intimidation will not derail the party's political direction. On infrastructure, the governor acknowledged the poor condition of the Ogo Access Road, promising a significant turnaround. The event drew several key party figures, including the Deputy Governor Dennis Idahosa, Pastor Sage Izeyamu, Secretary to the State Government Musa Ikio, former Deputy Governor Dr. Pius Odugu, and the APC National Women's Leader, and saw the party formally receiving some decampees.
Like it or not, Asewaju is coming back. Is it not settled in Edo State that Asewaju is coming back? Is Edo not shining? What you voted for, you not see reaping the dividends? I felt that people living around here, from time to time, they will go into hospital to take injection because of bad road. But the good news is this: by this time next year, we will come here again to see whether it will be like that.
We want to assure you that in the presidential election, because you have told us that we must bring the president back in great number, Onyema will not disappoint you.
We have seen the Shine agenda, we have seen the things you have done in Edo State, and then we have seen what you have done particularly in Orion local government. We, the women of Orion local government, with the women of Edo State, indeed women of Nigeria, we are saying thank you for the things you have done.
Nigeria Labour Congress has declared a nationwide protest for December 17 over the degenerating security situation across the country. That's how they described it in a notice issued to all state councils after its National Executive Committee meeting. The Labour group condemns the rampant activities of bandits and kidnappers across the country. The group singled out the November 17 abduction of female students from a boarding school in Kebbi State. NLC expressed outrage over the withdrawal of security personnel from the school shortly before the incident, describing it as a dastardly and criminal act that demands immediate investigation and prosecution. The group directed all its affiliates and state councils to fully mobilize workers and civil society for the protest. The NLC said the federal government has failed to take adequate measures to secure schools, particularly those in remote and fringe areas. We'll take another break, and when we come back, the United Nations calls on Ethiopia and Eritrea to cease rising tensions. Back in a moment. The United Nations is calling on Ethiopia and Eritrea to ease rising tensions and respect each other's territorial integrity. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged both governments to recommit to the Algiers Agreement, which ended their bloody 1998 to 2000 border war. The appeal follows months of accusations, with Eritrea claiming Ethiopia wants control of its Assab port, while Ethiopia says Eritrea is preparing for war and funding armed groups. Relations have deteriorated despite a 2019 peace deal signed by Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki. Tensions escalated further on Friday when Eritrea announced it was leaving regional bloc IGAD, accusing it of undermining member states and threatening regional stability. And Senegal has suspended all extraditions to France, accusing Paris of refusing to return two Senegalese citizens wanted for prosecution. Justice Minister Yassine Fall told Parliament that France has not cooperated despite the car providing all necessary documentations. As a result, Senegal will block the transfer of 12 people sought by France until it responds positively. The row intensified after a French court delayed a decision on the extradition of a media mogul and government critic, Madiam Dani, who fled to France and faces allegations of financial irregularities. His case has stirred political tensions in Senegal, where 2 journalists were briefly detained after interviewing him. Since 2024, the car has adopted a firmer stance against Paris. And dozens of protesters have marched through Safim near Guinea-Bissau's capital, calling for the release of last month's suspected election results. The vote was halted after the army seized power in a coup, throwing the country into fresh political uncertainty. Demonstrators accused the military of injustice, insisting that the will of the people must be respected. One protester, Vigario Luis Valanta, said the country cannot continue under what he described as unfair and unlawful conditions. The junta has yet to announce when or if the electoral process will resume.
Nacional. Ali ao nosso dostale, junto com as famílias que detido, não existe liberdade, não existe para tudo preso políticos militares que prenderam de forma injusta, e tem que largado. E também não existe para resultado contado, porque o povo Guiné-Bissau faz nessa escolha. O gosta ou o que gosta, mas nós tudo tem que respeitar a vontade popular, porque a vontade popular que ele é soberano, expressamente na urna, agora nós não temos que exigir aquilo.
Benin Republic's former defense minister and leading opposition figure Candide Azannai has been arrested in Cotonou. It remains unclear whether his detention is connected to Sunday's failed coup attempt, as authorities have not released a list of suspects. Azannai had earlier condemned the coup in a Facebook post while warning against what he called attempts to exploit the crisis to silence dissenting political voices. Police have not disclosed why he was arrested or where he's being held. A close associate confirmed the detention but said they have no information on the motive, noting that Azannai has long been a key critic of President Patrice Talon after breaking away from his camp in 2016. At least 2 people have been confirmed dead and several others remain trapped after a 4-story building under construction collapsed at the River Range Ranch temple site in Verulam, north of Durham. This morning, emergency teams are working urgently to reach the survivors. Reaction Unit South Africa, disaster management officials and paramedics are conducting a major rescue operation, combing through concrete and rubble in search of those still missing. At the time of filing this report, authorities say more details will emerge as efforts continue throughout the day. This is a developing story. Britain's King Charles III is set to appear in a personal televised message tonight about his experience with cancer, a rare public update from the monarch as he continues treatment and recovery. In a taped message recorded at Clarence House in late November, the 77-year-old king will reflect on his own cancer journey and highlight the importance of cancer screening and early diagnosis to save lives. King Charles announced his cancer diagnosis in February 2024 following treatment for an enlarged prostate and resumed duties in April 2025 and has maintained royal activities while receiving ongoing treatment. The broadcast forms part of a week-long Stand Up to Cancer initiative featuring celebrity challenges, fundraising events, and programs designed to raise awareness and funds for cancer research across the United Kingdom. Reddit has taken legal action in Australia's High Court to challenge the country's new law banning children under 16 from using major social media platforms. In its court filing, Reddit argues that the law is unconstitutional as it infringes on the implied freedom of political communication, a protection in Australia's system that ensures people can discuss ideas and public issues freely online. The company said it should also be exempt from the ban because its platform functions mainly as a discussion forum for adults, not a typical social networking site. The Australian government stands by the ban, saying it is necessary to protect young people from online harm. Other platforms affected include TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, Threads, Twitch, X, formerly Twitter, and Kick. Venezuela's Interior Ministry said in a statement released on Thursday that the United States has suspended a migrant repatriation flight which had been set to arrive on Friday amid months of high tensions between the two countries. The U.S. is executing a large-scale military buildup in the southern Caribbean as President Donald Trump campaigns for the ouster of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. The ministry added that it is confident the U.S. will rectify the situation sooner rather than later. Repatriation flights, which this year have returned more than 18,000 Venezuelans, mostly from the U.S., were briefly halted earlier this month after President Trump said Venezuelan airspace should be considered closed. Dangote Refinery has announced another sharp reduction in its petrol gantry price, cutting the rate by 15.58% from 828 naira to 699 naira per litre, effective December 11, 2025. The latest adjustment marks about 20th price review this year, reinforcing the refinery's aggressive pricing strategy as the festive travel season intensifies across Nigeria. According to senior officials, the refinery introduced a cut to ease transportation costs ahead of Christmas, when millions of Nigerians travel across states to reunite with their families. The company said the review aligns with its commitment to make the season memorable for citizens and reduce cost pressures on road transport operators. And the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Decommissioning and Abandonment in the Oil Sector has raised concerns over the non-compliance of provisions in the Petroleum Industry Act and other related laws by the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, as well as the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The lawmakers say that this represents a major challenge hindering progress of the oil and gas sector. Members of the Ad Hoc Committee made this known to officials of the Upstream Regulatory Agency and the Downstream Regulatory Agency following submissions during an investigative hearing on adherence to the PIA in the process of decommissioning and abandonment of oil facilities and aging assets. And that's all on the 6th edition, but here's a recap of the major stories. We told you that the Supreme Court has affirmed the death sentence of Miriam Sanda despite a presidential pardon, and that the court remands a former Labour Minister Chris Ngige in Kuje Prison over alleged 2.2 billion naira contract fraud. And finally, we told you that the Benin Republic's former defense minister and leading opposition figure, Candide Azannai, has been arrested in Cotonou. Thank you for watching. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. To follow us on social media, we are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. See you again next week. I'm Neota Igbe.